Dateless to dangerous. Here we go. My Son's Secret Life. Starring Alexander Elliott as Miles Miller. Also Jodie Sweetin from, as his mom, she plays, what's the name? Noelle. She's from Full House. Used to watch that all the time, of course. And also we have Nikki Romel as Haley Miller, and we have Colton Stewart as Sam. So let's get into it. This one starts off with a flashback. A lot of these movies, they'll show you like pretty much the climax of the movie. So that's what this one does. Now, let me tell you something about this movie. I watch these kind of movies for more of a type of goofy type story, some ridiculous things happening that don't really make sense. This movie was a little too serious for me. It wasn't really the vibe I was looking for, but it was the latest movie out that week, so I went ahead on and watched it. And as I was watching it, I was like, okay, this is more serious of a topic than usual, but there was some goofy parts to it. So, we'll go through it and we'll run it down. But it starts off with a flashback. The climax of the movie is pretty much when Miles, the main character, is crashing out. Everything's crumbling. He's losing his mind. He's over the top. He's turned pure evil. That's how it starts off. It shows the effects of him losing it. Then on the screen, they put up the definition of incel. And I wrote this down, which I already know what an incel is. I guess I'll read the definition. Incel it defines an online community of men who consider themselves unavailable or unable to attract women sexually, associated with hostile views toward women who are sexually active. So I guess it's guys that can't really, have any progress when it comes to getting with women. Now, like I said, this subject is so multi-layered, and the term incel is kind of out there in the zeitgeist right now, but these are extreme cases. This isn't the norm. This is somebody that's already suffering from certain issues, and they found the community, that whether it's real or not, online to kind of reassure how they're feeling. See, back when I was growing up, my time, we didn't have all of these internet communities, so we had guys that had similar problems, but there was no group to go online and to communicate with to make you feel like there's a bigger problem going on. And so a lot of times this stuff gets kind of blown out of proportion. And of course, the stories that you hear about are the worst stories, because you wouldn't hear about them if they weren't worse. The worst of the worst. So this behavior is kind of getting blown out of proportion because of the internet and all that stuff, but we'll go on with the story. It starts off with him and his sister. His sister, her name is Haley. Miles and his sister, they're going to school, and it's his first time his sister is actually going to public school. She's not going to private school. I'm not exactly clear why she's not going to private school anymore. I don't know if they can't afford it. I'm not sure if that was it. I'm not sure if it was related to some type of bullying or something, or bullying was the reason why she started going to private school. I'm not sure, but she's not going to private school anymore. She's joining Miles in high school with him. So he's used to being in school without any sibling, without his sister with him. So he's kind of going to school with her for the first time, showing her the ropes. He's kind of a nerdy type. And right now he's in denial about his dad. His dad is went off. He's pretty much started a new life, but he believes that his dad is going to come back. So his mom and his dad, they're separated at this point, but nobody's talking about it. So he's kind of in denial. So he's dealing with that. He's an awkward kid, like a lot of kids. And now he has his younger sister. She's vibrant. She has a lot of energy. She has a great personality, very optimistic, and she's going to school with him now. So he's bringing her into his world pretty much. And Miles, he's kind of a nerd socially, we'll say that. He has a hard time communicating outside of the people that he really knows. He's in a debate club at school, and that's pretty much his life. His life is being in the debate club and online gaming. Of course you got that, because that's pretty normal for a teenage boy nowadays to be into online gaming. And then after they go into high school, we get some exposition with Noelle, the mom. She's at work, and they showing her being a high-powered mom, educated, moving forward, regardless of this crappy husband, estranged husband that she has. And they're giving us opportunity to hear about the husband and what's going on through the work thing, because there's no other reason for them to show us her workplace other than the exposition. So we kind of get that. which is cool, I guess. So back to the kids. It's homecoming time at the school, so there's this thing where people do these homecoming proposals. Mainly guys, as far as I can tell, are proposing to the girls saying, will you come to homecoming with me? And it's like a big deal around the school. Everybody's doing it. They're being creative and all that stuff. And Miles isn't really into it. Obviously, I think he would want to be into it, but he's a shyer guy. He's socially awkward. And so he feels like he's not going to get the results he wants anyway. And of course, he's crushing on this girl that's pretty much doesn't barely even know he exists. You know the story. You know how it goes. So he's kind of disgusted about all of the proposals going on, saying how corny it is. And the younger sister, Haley, she's all into it, of course. And then his best friend, Sam, he's like, well, I don't see the big deal. It's kind of cool. So they're all into it. But in the midst of all this, his sister, Haley, is invited to join the debate team. And he's kind of like, that's my place. That's my space. But he's like, okay. And so she joins the debate team. And that was kind of quick. I see to jump right in. They didn't really show how she got signed into it. Because, you know, when I was in school, when you wanted to join something, you had to go through a process of joining, and they just put it right in there. But, you know, we can't waste time with all that. So all is well at school so far. Then they go to the scene where they show Miles playing his video game online, first person shooter game. And so they kind of throwing up this whole image of him just being, like I said, kind of an awkward guy, incel, nerdy, debate team. He's playing video games online, first person shooter, all of the little stereotype they're building in there, painting out this picture of this type of young man. It's interesting. So Haley finds out who the girl is that Miles is crushing over, and she convinces him to do this elaborate proposal for the homecoming. They call it HOCO, the homecoming. And he's like, nah, I don't want to get involved. Nah, this is silly. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. So she convinces him to do it. And they come up with this kind of a funny, cool idea. He's laying on the ground, looking like he's dead. Everybody's watching in the hallway. And it's pretty much saying, I'm dying to take you to homecoming. And the girl that he likes, she thanks him. It was just funny. When she said thank you, I was like, oh no, that's not a good sign. You don't want somebody to thank you. You want to see them excited. She was like, oh, thank you. So she denies him in front of everybody. He's devastated. And this kind of is where the villain starts to be created. This is where the bad guy starts to be, the little parts of him start coming out. So after this happens, he's embarrassed, he's devastated. The whole school knows. People, of course, they recorded it on their phones. See, back when I was growing up, everybody didn't have phones and cell phones and cameras. So there was a lot of stuff that went on that was just word of mouth. And if you was lucky, you could avoid some stuff just going on forever. You could move a town over. And so you can escape some of these things back in the days. But nowadays with the cameras and the social media online, man, it's tough. When something gets out there, it's gonna be there for forever. So he's embarrassed. He goes home and he's playing this video game online. And you know, I don't know if you know about online gaming. You'll have a whole community of people that you don't really know, but y'all play games together. Y'all play video games together. So he has a whole community of people. And some of these guys on there, they're like still filling in this stereotype of these guys. They're like incels. They're angry at girls because they're not getting the progress and the results they want with women. And so they paint this whole picture of, they call it the manosphere, where these guys, they're super, they call them misogynistic. And so this is where it gets interesting, because those online man groups, there's a lot of positive that comes out of it, but there's no regulations. Everybody's not the same. Every situation is different. Some people go extremes with things, with some information. Some of the information they're saying is true. Some of it is over the top. So just to kind of bunch it all together into the manosphere of incels and people that like violent games, that shit was funny. Cause I'm like, that's not how the world really works. Of course, there's those extreme situations, and I guess we're watching one, but it was kind of corny the way they just made out his friends online to automatically be into these extreme, violent game playing, women hating groups. And so that was interesting. So he told his gaming buddy about what happened. He's like, oh man, she's this and she's that. They got all these terrible names for women, and they're really angry online. He said, go to this group. He sent them to this website. I guess it's a social media website or probably a Reddit thread. And he said, tell them your problem and they'll tell you what to do. They understand. So it's pretty much, he's finding groups of people online that can be sympathetic to his issue that he has going on. And so this is where the evil, dark character is being grown. And you got to remember now, his dad is not around. His dad is somewhere in the world, running around, not being a parent. He's abandoned his family pretty much. So he's pretty much by himself dealing with this problem of being rejected and all this stuff. So it's a recipe for a disaster. Now, this group that he connects with online, this was kind of funny. It was just, like I say, it was so extreme. It was so over the top. And I repeat, some of these male groups or these manosphere ideas are good ideas. They're positive things. But just like anything else, it can be overdone. It can be too extreme in certain areas. But what was funny was the names, the names of some of the people in the group. They tried to make it sound all manly and stuff. I had to write down some of the names. Okay. One of the guys was named Piston. I guess Piston sounds like something strong and moving. I don't know. Winston. When I think of Winston, I think of that old cigarette brand, but it sounds like a manly name. And then they got another one named Chad Forever. Now, I don't know if the guy that made the name Chad Forever is supposed to be being ironic or he really feels like I'm a Chad Forever. That was just funny. Whoever wrote this, it was cracking me up. Another one was called Manly. Somebody named Manly. And so it was these stereotypical names for all of these online guys that's pretty much, I guess they're supposed to hate women, and they're in this group and they're telling them like, yeah, all women are the same. They're evil. They're below us. They should serve us. Pretty much all of that extreme male chauvinistic stuff. So, oh yeah, and the name of the website or the group is called The Red Zone. I guess, you know, it's all symbolic because he has lights in his room, and the lights are blue in his room at first, and now the lights in his room, they're red in his bedroom. So it's like it's showing you like this evil transition from good Miles to evil Miles to mini Miles, over 100,000 miles, whatever. They're showing the transition, and it's hilarious. It's hilarious. But I can see how some people that don't understand how it is to be a young man, how they would take this very serious. And if, like I said, there's a lot of serious stories we've seen, but these are in an extreme minority. It really is. A lot of these young guys do need to feel some type of camaraderie. They do need to talk to people. They do need to understand how to deal with the opposite sex and all that stuff. It's not like it's a non-issue. But of course, it's a movie, so we got to make it dramatic, so it's going to the extreme, which, you know, is understandable. But he starts lifting weights and stuff and trying to get ripped up. And hey, that's a good thing. See, that's one of the good parts of these man groups is, hey, yeah, get yourself together physically. Become more confident. Learn how to talk to people. Learn how to be better. Now, as far as the hating and the downgrading of the opposite sex and all that, that's ridiculous. But as young men, you do want to get better. You do want to become stronger. You do want to become smarter. You do want to understand human nature better. You do want to understand female nature and male nature. Those things are important. Now, there's always the extreme, but learning more about women and how to talk and how to be stronger and better and smarter, those things are very important. So, yeah, I see what they're doing in this movie, but it's a little extreme. He's basically becoming evil right now before our eyes. He's being reprogrammed by the evil manosphere. That's what they're portraying. Pretty hilarious, but that's what they're doing. Now, this is where things get kind of turned up to the next level, the next notch up. When he finds out Haley, his little sister, and his best friend Sam are dating each other. No bueno. Things start getting a little interesting and he gets a little jealous. He's starting to look a little crazy. His hair is starting to fall over his eye a little bit more. You know, he's making this further into his transition. He's transitioning. Not in that way. So there's a big debate coming up. And at this point, Miles is upset about Haley and Sam dating. And they go to the debate. And Haley and Sam, they miss an important part of the debate. So Miles pretty much sabotages them. And so they end up failing at their part of the debate that's going on. And they knew it, he knew it, and it was kind of like, dude, you're going a little too far with the sabotage. But overall, they did end up winning. Afterwards, they're partying, they're at a hotel, they're out of town. And there's another girl in his debate class or on the debate team that I don't know if he really likes her, but he's trying to figure out how to deal with women. So they're in there drinking and stuff, and he end up getting along with this girl, and he tries to kiss her, and then she rejects him. It's like, oh Lord. And and that was like another little notch transition into evil Miles. He's got rejected by another girl, and this girl he got rejected by, he feels like she's kind of below him as far as like she wasn't somebody he would go after. He was just trying. He said, okay, I'll try her, and she rejected him. So he's like, oh hell no, these women are evil. They ain't about nothing. They're destroying everything in the world, and the reason why my dad's not coming home because my mom, she's evil too. Is like women starting to be the bane of his existence, and so he's getting more and more evil, more and more red. I'm sorry, it's just so silly, but I guess somebody wants to see this story. So after all said and done, when they get back to school, his debate partner, she goes to the teacher, to the coach, and she says, hey, can you switch partners with me? I don't really want to work with Miles anymore. He's kind of weird. He's making me feel uncomfortable. And the teacher's like, oh, okay. She's like, don't make it look obvious because I don't want to hurt his feelings. So she's like trying to still save his feelings a little bit because, if it's awkward now. So that happens. But when that happens, this is the turning point. In class, the teacher, the coach, whatever you want to call him, he says, hey, Miles, we're switching up partners. He made it seem like it was something he was going to do anyway. But Miles is like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, oh man, the villain is being born. He starts freaking out in class and calling all the girls out of their names, and he has to get taken out of the class, and he's like, you can't do what you want when you want to do it. He's not really making any sense at this point. It's like the writers kind of ran out of stuff to say. It's like, because he's not like cursing at everybody or trying to fight everybody at this point. He's just going to sound silly. He's making a lot of just false promises and saying weird stuff. It's not really making sense. Usually people that are seriously pissed off, they won't say anything. You just got to be like, oh man, this he looks crazy. We need to watch out for him. Something ain't right. But he's just talking and not really saying anything, and you'll see. Just watch it. So he gets sent home. When he goes home, he gets back online talking to his internet buddies, and he told them what happened, and they're like, oh man, that's messed up. You don't have to take that. You don't deserve that. Women aren't this, and they came up with this term called foids, and I guess it's short for female droids. I guess women are like robots to this guy. I don't know, but that shit, it was funny. I've never heard of that before, and I kind of hope it catches on. Not because I believe it, but it just sounds so ridiculous. I mean, there's a bunch of other ridiculous stuff online. What's another word? Foid. What's another word? It ain't hurt nobody. I won't be using it, but I think it's ridiculous. So anyway, they're online and they're getting them going, and the guy's like his online buddy, the main guy. He's like, how do you look? You probably look soft. What you need to do is you need to take something and bruise your face up so you can change your bone structure in your face so you can look more manly, more of a broader jawline. I've never heard of this. I've never heard of this before. I've heard of like scars being more attractive to women or girls or whatever. I've heard of tattoos. I've never heard of creating a scar. That's fine, but changing your bone structure, I guess it will change your bone structure, but I've never heard of somebody doing that. So he decides to take a weight and he beats himself in the side of his face trying to bruise himself. Of course, he ends up with all type of bruising and black eyes and stuff going on all over his face. I'm like, man, what the hell, dude? I mean, like I said, the turning point happened in the classroom. At this point, he's a villain now. And I'm like, okay, where is this movie going? Because this has got to go to some extreme, right? Because he's already doing some weird stuff. So I'm like, how far is this going to go? So yeah, he beats himself up, wakes up the next morning. His mom, it was funny how his mom and his sister saw him, because he probably could have snuck out the house and said, hey, I'm going to school. But he just came out from his bedroom or whatever. And he just stood there and looked at him, like just waiting for him to say something, because his face was all bruised up. He could have avoided them, but he wanted them to see him. And so he sat there and it was like, what the hell? His sister was like, you got jumped. And he didn't say anything. He just like, I'm walking to school. He just went to school. By the time he got to school, he walked in there, he got bruised all over his face, looking crazy. And then the debate coach, he grabs him and apparently he kicks him off the debate team. And so he sees the girl, his debate partner, and he confronts her. Be like, you asked to be moved from me. I think that happened before the coach confronted him. But you asked to be moved from being partners with me. And she was like, kind of like looking scared. And then he took his fist like he was about to punch her. I was like, what? I was like, what's next? This dude is tripping. And so after that, that's when he gets kicked off the debate team. And then what happens after that? I think he goes straight home from that. He gets home, tells his mom he got kicked off the debate team, and he realizes that I think she locked him out of the basement because he was in his dad's old room with all his dad's stuff. She locked him out. I believe that happened first. And then the next day, because he wouldn't talk to her about what was going on, she was freaking out. I was like, man, she's a decent mom, and he's like blaming everything on her, blaming everything on women and stuff. It's just ridiculous. And so the next day, some kind of way, she got all of his gaming system. I don't know how she got it, but she got it. They didn't really show how that happened because he was laying there. I don't know, but she took all his gaming system and he was pissed. And he was like getting in her face and stuff and telling her, hey, you need to give me back my stuff and all this stuff. And she's like back down, and it was a confrontation. And once again, I'm like, where is this movie going? Because he's already went to the extremes. He's threatened people. He's cussed out teachers or cussed out people in class. Where's it going? Is he going to shoot up the school? Like, what's going on? So I didn't know how far it was going to go. So at this point, I didn't really want to watch this movie because it wasn't the goofy stuff I like. But I'm like, okay, it has my attention. So Miles is in the basement and he hears his sister and his best friend upstairs, and they're like horsing around, I guess making noise and kissing and hugging and stuff. And he gets pissed off. He goes upstairs and he confronts his best friend. He said, get the hell out of my house. You know, he's mad because they're together and nothing's working out on his end. And so he goes off and he kicks him out, and his best friend said, okay, I'll leave. And so he goes on the front porch and his best friend tries to talk to him. And then Miles, he pushes him off the porch in a fit of rage, and he falls back and ends up breaking his arm in a couple of spots. And it's like, okay, this dude needs to be picked up and put somewhere. At this point, he's threatened somebody at school. He's cussed out people. He's beat up his face. Nobody knows how it happened. He got his face all beat up. Now he pushed his friend down, broke his arm in 3 places. Like, this should be like the end of the movie. Like, where is this going from now? And then after that, his sister comes in and she's like pissed off, and she confronts him about his online group that I guess she noticed that's been making him crazy and making him want to do all this weird stuff. So he gets pissed off like, oh, you don't know, you don't understand. You're a girl, you take everything. Like, this dude is straight up just hating women. And it's I won't say it's funny, but it's funny the way they're portraying it. But I guess there's really no real way to portray it. It's gonna look silly, it's gonna look goofy. Because it wouldn't have been drawn out this long. He would have went from one extreme to the next, but they drawn it out. And I'm like, okay, where is this movie going from here? Because you can't go any further without it being something extremely tragic. So I'm like, I didn't sign up for that, but okay, we watching it, we in there. We in here. And so he's all stressed out. His mom, she's really being a good mom. I got to give it to the character of Noelle, Joey Sweeten's character. She, despite of everything going on, she's still not giving up on the boy. But there was the homecoming thing, and he wasn't going, of course, but his sister was going, and his best friend and all that. And so he stays home, and he tries to call his dad, and his dad is like, dude, you need to stop doing what you're doing. You're pissing your mom off. You're causing all this problem. Like, his dad is totally just like not on his side, doesn't understand, not available. So that takes him a little further into the evil version of himself. And so there's a pre-party before the homecoming. And this was smart for the writers too. It's a cheaper way. Instead of doing a homecoming, you gotta have like a big place. Pre-homecoming party was like just one little house, so it made it simple. That's a whole other thing. So he's looking at pictures online of the people at the party. His mom was there, his sister was there, his best friend was there. The girl he tried to talk to in the debate club, they was there. He's looking online at all this stuff, and he's like fuming. And so he's like, and I think he went back to his online group, and it was like, oh, hell no, man, you need to set them straight, and they don't deserve this, and you this and you that. So he gets into this rage and he finds a gun that his daddy had. He gets a gun. I'm like, oh shit, it's about to get crazy. That's what I was worried about. I'm like, how far is this gonna go? I'm like, okay, he's got a gun. And then all of a sudden they show him arriving at the homecoming pre-party, and there's some decorations in the front on an old truck. And they show him with a gas can. And I'm like, okay, he's not shooting anybody, but they sure scared me with this whole gun thing. And so he starts putting gasoline all over this decorated truck in front of the house. So once again, he wasn't going to set the house on fire, which is, by the way, is his best friend's house, Sam. He was going to destroy the decorations. Honestly, I don't think he knew exactly what he was going to do, but they had to go to some level without going too far. So I'm glad they kind of stopped him just destroying property instead of trying to torch the house or shoot somebody or something like that. He sets the decorations on fire. Everybody come running out the house, and his sister sees him and they're like, what are you doing? What's going on? And everybody's freaking out, and he goes running down the street. After he leaves, Haley goes running after him. He runs underneath this bridge, and by the time she makes it to him, he's standing there holding that pistol, and he's like looking like he want to do something to himself with it. And right after he leaves, his mom pulls up. I guess his mom went through his phone or the computer before, and she saw what was going on, so she rushed over there to try to, stop the situation. And so she pulled up. They said, oh, he went that way with Haley, chased him. And then Haley and him, she's talking to him. He was pretty much saying, I don't want to live like this anymore. I can't deal with this anymore. I'm like, man, this went from 0 to 60 real fast. Now you want to end your life? Like, I'm telling you, this normal kid to villain went fast, and now from villain to end it all went like that. It's like, golly. She ended up giving him a hug, and as soon as she went to grab him and hug him, the gun went off. And she jumped and he jumped, and it made it kind of look like he accidentally shot her or shot himself, but he didn't shoot anybody, which I figured it was just like a fire at the ground or whatever. At that point, the mom runs up, Noelle runs up, and she sees and she starts freaking out, and they all start hugging and crying and all that stuff. That was the climax right there. For the most part, I knew it wasn't going to go any more tragic than the actual fire thing, because the story couldn't get that serious. Not this type of story, not on this network, not with this situation. I just knew it wasn't going to go any further because of the rest of the movie. But anyway, they go flash forward 6 months later. He's at some type of psychiatric hospital, and they're sitting at a table. He's pretty much admitting to everything that he did and how he was wrong and how he was losing it. This scene goes on forever. I mean, I'm like, okay, all right, okay, all right, okay, all right. It goes on and on and on, and it comes to an end. This movie here, like I said at the top, this is not the type of movie that I planned on reviewing on this channel. It wasn't zany enough. It wasn't goofy enough. It wasn't corny enough. But it was on the calendar, so I went ahead and checked it out. A lot of the things they talked about in the movie were important. They was exaggerated and made out to be more serious than what it is most of the time. But I got why they did it. There are some rare cases where these guys feel dejected and they end up getting involved with the wrong things, and then they look at the whole world in the wrong way. So I get it. It was a good message. But it's funny how some of the stuff he was saying wasn't completely untrue. It just went to the extremes. And so that's the interesting part about it. It was just kind of funny how they just made it seem like everything he's saying was just ridiculous. Now, he was having some important problems that need to be addressed, but the way they was being addressed, it was to the extreme. So what do I give this movie? And remember, when I rate these movies, I'm not talking about the quality of the movie. I'm talking about, is it worth watching? And I pretty much told you already, this is not the movie that I would like to watch. It was dramatic, it was sad, it kind of felt like it went on forever. It didn't really have like a real climax to me, because I knew it wasn't really going anywhere. I knew it wasn't gonna be anything super serious that's gonna happen to these kids or anything. So on the recommend watch scale, this has to be at about a 3, maybe a 2. Let's just stick it at 3. This one I do not recommend. I'm not saying it wasn't a good movie. I'm not saying the acting was terrible. I love seeing Jodie Sweetin coming so far along and playing an adult. I mean, I like her. I grew up watching her, and it's cool to see her as an adult. And she's pretty good. She did good with her part. So that's my recommendation for this movie from Dateless to Dangerous, My Son's Secret Life. When I first saw that name, I thought it was hilarious, by the way. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Talk to you later.